All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to to episode 150. I should say. I haven't mentioned the episode number in a while, but this is episode 150 of the ThrillGeek Podcast. I'm Clint.
I'm Barry, and I've got my Tokyo Disney hoodie on because we have a special guest for the 150th episode. He is the founder of TDR Explorer.com, which to me is the definitive website, social media for covering the parks in Japan and Asia. Chris is here.
Hi.
From Japan.
From the other side of the world.
Mm-hmm. It's 10:30 in the morning over here.
Yeah.
And it's scorching hot already. Fun.
we should start. I was going to say let's start with the typical conversation starter. How's the weather over there in Tokyo?
It is scorching hot and it's very humid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
Florida
Fahrenheit. I don't know Fahrenheit, but it's 35 degrees Celsius. So if someone wants to translate that, 98, 99, 100, I don't know.
95. Yep, it's 95. So
okay.
This is pretty much Florida weather.
Yeah.
I think people forget how hot it gets there in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very hot. Yeah. So I'm sitting here in air conditioning. My air conditioner is running 24/7 because I don't want
I've turned down the AC just so I could wear this. So because I normally am not in hoodies in the summer. So
I was wondering what you were wearing when you first came in. I was like,
the one piece of clothing I have from Tokyo Disney because they were out of everything when I went. So
oh gosh. So Chris, obviously, with all that's going on with the parks, not only here stateside, over on your side of the world, besides Hong Kong is still closed, right? I didn't do my homework.
They reclosed.
Yes.
Yeah, they opened and then they closed again.
And were you able to make it to Hong Kong before they closed?
No, there's still travel bans in place, so I can't.
That's correct. Yeah,
I can't even come back to Japan if I was to leave. That's like a whole thing right now with the government in Japan, where as a foreigner, obviously I have a legal residence card to say I'm legally here, but if I leave, like if I had to go back to Canada for whatever reason, the government's not allowing us to come back yet into the country, which is really not fun. So I'm kind of stuck here in a sense. Even though, I live here and everything, but that option to not be able to leave and come back is kind of a little unsettling at the moment. So hopefully that changes at some point. But yeah, that was my long-winded way of saying no. I haven't gone there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're all sort of in that boat. I think. I was planning to come back to Japan this year, and that's not happening. So.
No, unfortunately, I've been telling everyone, if you have trips planned, they're not going to happen. I just don't see it happening, and just. Travel bans are the biggest thing, and then of course on top of that, do you really want to be traveling with everything happening and stuff? So, and plus Tokyo Disney canceled all their seasonal events for the rest of the fiscal year, and we don't know when the expansion is supposed to open, because that was supposed to open in April, the Beauty and the Beast stuff. And same thing with Universal Studios Japan. Well, they haven't canceled their events per se. They
haven't canceled Horror Nights yet.
No, they haven't
There's
said
one
anything.
Horror Nights holding on still.
But the really highly anticipated Super Nintendo World has been postponed as well. That was supposed to open last month, actually. That was their plan. And now it's just sitting there, so we have to wait. So really, on top of everything that's happening, if you came, if you're able to come, there's a lot of stuff that's just postponed. So might as well. It's just best to wait, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, I guess we can sort of go into, Tokyo Disney reopening, because you've been to, I believe, both parks since they've reopened?
Just to Disneyland.
I'm actually
I'm actually going to Disney Sea tomorrow.
Ah.
Yeah.
So we should have you on the podcast the day after tomorrow. No.
But I mean, how is it? Obviously, things have been different, But how was it going back? Because we've sort of talked on here about what it was like to go back to Disney World and Universal. Those two, the Tokyo Disney Resort is one of the busiest, theme park resorts in the world. I would say at times I question the attendance of whether Tokyo Disneyland's busier than the Magic Kingdom. If Magic Kingdom didn't have all these parties, probably Tokyo Disneyland would be the busiest park in the world. What was it like to go back in this, with all this going on, and obviously things were a lot different?
Well, it felt like going back home after being away for a very long time, but knowing things are not the way you left it when you last visited. It's kind of like when you leave home for the first time and then you come back after months or years or whatever, and you kind of expect it to be the same, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that feeling.
How was it seeing the park? Because I mean, I could be wrong, but have you ever seen Tokyo Disneyland that empty as far as crowds go?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
For like a normal day, definitely not. Like this, very slow. But I know over the last month they've been increasing the capacity, so it has been getting busier. But I haven't been back yet. I'll find out tomorrow, I guess, at Disney Sea. But other times I've seen it like really quiet has been during like typhoons and stuff, because who's going to go during a typhoon? I guess similar for hurricanes, right? Like
we've kind of I mean, there's been times where we've had a hurricane barreling towards us here in Florida, and the few days before everything evacuations and stuff go in, it's gotten pretty slow.
Yeah, and other times have been when it's snowed. Because what happens when it snows, it kind of like shuts down everything, especially the trains, and that's mostly how people get around is the train. So if the trains aren't running, most people can't get to the parks. So it's usually just local people.
Yeah. Which I always find funny, because like for us being like Disney theme park fans, the idea of going to a Disney park when it's snowing is like the most exciting thing ever. Yeah. Where I'm sure other people are like, no, I don't want to go. But we're like, yes, I would love to go when it's snowing.
Oh yeah, it's nice. I've done it a couple of times, about 3 times, I think. It doesn't happen very often. Like people ask me, oh, when's the perfect time to go when it's snowing? And I tell them, well, between December and February, like that's it. And if it snows, it lasts for like not even a day, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get cold enough here. Like it gets obviously cold enough to actually snow, but not cold enough to stick. So I think when people think of that, they think like, oh, it's going to look like, northern Canada, where everything's just covered in snow for months at a time. It
like Disneyland Paris when they get snow.
Yeah, it's definitely not like that here, unfortunately. I wish it was, but
I've seen the pictures of Universal Studios Japan Hogsmeade and the castle with snow, and I'm just I would love to be there for that.
I remember that. I think that was a year or two ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really cool to see. And it was snowing. I mean, the snowflakes were giant. It wasn't like a little like flurry. It was like full on snowing, and I was like, gosh, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
But going back to Tokyo Disneyland reopening, obviously you've been paying attention to stuff over here too. So what was there anything has there been anything different that you experienced at Tokyo Disneyland reopening over there compared to here at stateside?
Or
was it a fairly similar process?
I guess the biggest thing, the most controversial thing, is everyone here just wears masks. It's a non-issue. People just wear it. So that's obviously the biggest difference here.
They're not chin guards over there.
No. I mean, people wear them normally outside of what's happening.
Yeah.
So just to get everyone to do it is kind of...
It's almost second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just going out. Like I rarely, no, I shouldn't say rarely. I never see anyone putting up a fuss about wearing a mask.
Well, isn't it explain to me, or explain to people listening, it's a cultural thing over there. It's like if you're sick, you don't want to get other people sick. And I mean, it seems to be a cultural thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. People, if they're sick, most people will wear a mask. So then, on the trains and stuff like that, because, it is very, very tight country in terms of population. It's very dense. So it's a courtesy thing. And being courteous and polite is just really ingrained in the culture here. So that's why people do it. And of course, there's also like allergy season that happens with pollen and stuff. So people wear that. That's during normal times. That's usually the only time I'd wear a mask, is if the pollen in the air is really bad, and I'll wear a mask. And of course, if I'm sick. Then other reasons people wear masks is sometimes in the winter, people will wear them because it keeps their face warm. It's easier than wrapping up a scarf around your face. You just put on the mask and you're good to go.
That's interesting. I would have never thought of that.
And some celebrities will wear them, like really well-known people will wear them when they go out in public. So then they're less likely to be recognized. And some people are just very shy. And so they just don't want people to know who they are. So they just put it on and it's acceptable. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's the biggest thing I noticed for Tokyo Disneyland versus the stuff in the US. Well, I guess Walt Disney World, Disneyland's not open. Everything else, kind of what you would expect, the social distancing markers, not everything is open, reduced hours. Probably the biggest thing and the most confusing / infuriating thing is what they're doing with the park tickets and annual passes here.
What's going on with that?
As of right now, they're only selling park tickets 1 month in advance. Normal times they're usually 90 days in advance. But right now they've reduced it to 1 month, and there's only one type of ticket. There's one, you can only buy a day ticket. You can't buy multiple days. And for the 1 day ticket, you get to pick if you want the full day, come after 11 or come after 2. And obviously the price reduces. I guess they're doing that just to kind of stagger people into the park. And up until this month, annual pass holders, we weren't allowed to go whenever we wanted. We have to enter from now until October, I believe. We have to enter a lottery once a month, and we choose the days that we want to go with our annual pass, and then we enter the lottery, and then they post the results for us and tell us like, okay, these are the days you get to go, and you can only go after 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So kind of what they're doing right now, and don't know. I'll find out tomorrow, because tomorrow is the first day for me using my annual pass this year, or being able to use it. So I guess I'll see how it goes. I have no idea. They haven't said anything yet about like refunds. The only thing we know about refunds for the annual passes is if you use your annual pass for these next 3 months, that won't count against getting a refund for your pass. So we don't know what their plans are yet.
Interesting.
With how that's going to go.
How is Universal Studios Japan doing a similar thing with ticketing, or how are they doing entry to their parks?
The tickets are the same. I think 30 days in advance, but I believe it's just a 1 day ticket.
Okay.
I think they kind of simplified it, and they did this kind of like phased opening. So like the first week was just just annual pass holders that lived within the city of Osaka and like that region. Then the next week they opened it up to day ticket holders that lived in the area. Then they just kind of slowly opened it up as they went. And if I wanted to go, I could. I have an annual pass for Universal Studios Japan, and I can actually use it whenever I want. I don't have to. I have to reserve ahead of time, but
they don't have any like blockouts or anything like that.
depends on the pass you have. Like I have the lowest one, so like there's just natural walkout dates for it. But for the most part, no, it kind of works normally, which is good.
Gotcha. That's cool. As far as one thing that I noticed that was interesting with Tokyo Disneyland when it reopened was there were no characters, and obviously Tokyo Disney Resort in general, the characters are huge there. Have they since then loosened up and kind of introduced more characters to the park from what you've been able to tell, or are they still pretty strict on like character experiences in the park?
They're still very strict on that. I believe. Well, the reason for that is because the characters are so popular.
Yeah.
As soon as they bring them out, it's going to just draw crowds. So
it's going to be a
really,
madhouse.
The only thing they have at Disneyland is this greeting in front of Cinderella Castle, where like the Fab Five come out and they dance around and stuff.
Yeah.
And they go back, and then there's like a little mini parade that goes through. And then over at Disney Sea, they have. I guess Disney Sea is easier to do the distancing with the character because everything's on the barge in the water, so people can't get close to the characters. But then they also have
Animal Kingdom with the big party barges.
Same idea. And then they've started doing this thing where Mickey and Minnie come out in previous anniversary outfits, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of cool. So I'm hoping to see that tomorrow because I've never seen them in those costumes because it's from years ago and I wasn't here at the time. So I definitely want to see it in person. So being able to do that would be kind of cool. I've heard, like, I don't know how true this is, but they might be doing more of that, like as the seasons go on, because they did a surprise greeting on Tanabata Day. Tanabata Day is like it's not really a holiday, but it's like a religious kind of, not really religious. That's not the word. It's like a legend, the legends of like these two lovers from like the stars and stuff. Anyway, Tokyo Disney usually has an event themed off of that. It's like with wishes and things like that. And Mickey and Minnie actually came out for a one-time greeting in those outfits. Like they just came out once, it was unannounced, they showed up and then they left. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see random things like that. Going forward, which I think is kind of fun because then I know I've seen people talk about this before in regards to Disney World. You don't really have to plan as much anymore. And there's a lot more, like, there's just a lot more like spontaneous things to do, which I think is kind of how I go about the park. So I think it just makes everything a little bit less stressful, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it here. It's like I don't want to get too excited because of everything that's going on, but it's like it's nice to go into the park and go, hey, what do I want to go do? Oh, Flight of Passage has a 20-minute wait. I'm going to go ride Flight of Passage. It's like I'm at Epcot. It's like this only has a 15-minute wait. Let's go wait in line for that. It's out. The only thing out of all four parks here, the only thing you have to do schedule is if you go to Hollywood Studios, you still have to try to get a boarding pass for Ride of the Resistance. But it's sort of nice to just go to the parks and not have to have a strategy to do things.
Yeah, it's nice, but it's also like oof, at the same time because it's this is obviously not good for the economy and good for that sort of thing. So it's a double-edged sword. It's a weird time right now at the parks, no matter where you are. So, anyways, I had a question here on our live stream, Chris. Let me go back to it here. Where is it? Where'd it go? I lost it here. Any news regarding annual passports? We just briefly mentioned them. Extensions on current passports and when we can use them at the parks.
Just kind of what I've mentioned before. We don't know anything. I think it sounds like they're going to say something in October. So we still have to wait.
And then also, any idea if Pirates Summer Event will be held in 2021? It's kind of a long ways away.
Yeah. No idea.
Did you find it interesting that they actually announced a new nighttime harbor show for Tokyo Disney Sea? Were you sort of surprised by that?
Yes and no. Like, kind of looking at it, like the timing and everything. Obviously, they did it when the financials, like the report came out. So it sounded like they needed just to get something announced, because it did look kind of rushed. Like there wasn't much there. It wasn't much to go off of. But I kind of had an inkling that they were going to do something for the 20th anniversary. Like, it just kind of made sense. Like, it doesn't take a genius to kind of think of, oh, they're probably going to bring something for the 20th anniversary because we don't have a nighttime show anymore at Disney Sea. So I wasn't that surprised. It did feel a little rushed, but whatever.
I mean, I find it go ahead and ask that question. Is the
Scream inside your heart?
Yeah, I was going to bring this up.
Scream in your heart's advice working out.
They don't say anything at Disney here.
What parks did you? I remember I briefly wrote I wrote a little article for ThrillGeek for it, and I forgot what parks. It wasn't a park specific thing. It was just like guidelines or something they came out with. And then it eventually changed into this scream in your hearts thing.
Yeah, that was from Fuji-Q Highland, which is the big roller coaster amusement park here near Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
So that was kind of their thing, and it just kind of went viral. Pardon the pun. With that, so it's like at Disney and Universal, they don't tell you that. They just don't. Like, so. Kind of, I don't know, it was one of those weird things that they just said, and no one really does it.
Yeah. Like, scream in your hearts, everybody.
Yeah.
Do your part and scream in your hearts. Oh gosh.
Now, I mean, one of the things I want to, I've talked, people know I talk incessantly about Tokyo Disney on this podcast, to the point that it annoys Clint. You earlier this year you got to go. You were here at Disney World, and I can't remember. You went to Did you go to Disneyland too? I can't remember.
No, I was in Disneyland
last year. Sort of explain to people. To me, I've been there to Tokyo Disneyland once. How do you compare it to, say, Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom? Because to me, it's almost like a mashup of Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. That's how I usually describe it to people. Is Tokyo took the best from both of those parks to make their own version of it. So that's kind of when you go, especially if you've been to Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom. It's familiar, but not at the same time. I guess that's a really good way to describe it. Like the biggest thing I guess people do comment on is the whole World Bazaar. Tokyo Disneyland doesn't have a Main Street USA. They made this covered like shopping area, I guess, lack of a better term. And that's mainly because Japan famously has 4 seasons. If you live in Japan long enough, everyone that's Japanese will tell you that Japan has very distinct 4 seasons. And so with snowing and typhoons and rainy season and all this kind of stuff, it's nice to have somewhere where you can get out of the elements. So that's the reason.
I think I like World Bazaar better than Main Street USA, just because of it being covered, and that they took some of the ideas like from like International Street that Imagineers had worked on one time and sort of mashed it all up to sort of create World Bazaar. What is something at Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea? People always talk about Pooh's Honey Hunt and Journey to the Center of the Earth, but what is your I guess unsung gem, or like something that people, if they go, would be surprised might be a favorite thing or something like that?
Tokyo Disneyland. Well, Monsters Inc. is a good one. That's a unique attraction. It's easy to skip because you might think, oh, it's just like the one at California Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's very different. But probably the biggest thing that's easy to miss actually at Tokyo Disneyland is Camp Woodchuck, which opened about 4 years ago. So in the back of the park, there's a little Camp Woodchuck area with a restaurant and meet and greet with Donald and Daisy in their like woodchuck outfits and stuff. And it's just a really, really well done area, and it's one of my it's my favorite part at Tokyo Disneyland. I love going there. The food is really good at the restaurant. It's very cozy. Like, it's a big wooden cabin, and there's so many little details around there. It's just a wonderful place to go, and it's right along the river, so you can see the Mark Twain go by, and you can also see the railroad go by and everything too. So it's just like a really nice part of the park.
Yeah, we ate at the restaurant, and just the idea that there's an entire restaurant devoted to like Huey, Dewey, and Louie, like being woodchucks. It was just
yeah.
Was pretty amazing. What about Tokyo Disney Sea?
So Disney Sea, everyone says Sinbad, and I agree. Sinbad is very, very good, very cute.
I've talked a lot about Sinbad.
Yeah, it's kind of talked to death. I think everyone knows about it. Couple of things: the Venetia gondolas. Those are easy to miss, but like to actually ride it, but they're not easy to miss, if that makes any sense, because you can see them when they go out into the harbor, but it's not exactly apparent like where do you go to get on the ride kind of thing. And then they do close like during shows and stuff that happen in the harbor, so like the scheduling of it is kind of like up and down a lot, so it's easy to kind of skip if you really wanted to, but I think it's one of those things you really need to do, especially sunset is like the perfect time to do it. It's very romantic and very, I don't know, just like quintessential Disney Sea, in my opinion.
And that park is gorgeous at night, so I can totally see that. Yeah.
And then the Fortress Explorations, which is actually attached to Mount Prometheus. Again, that's another easy one to kind of skip. Like, you can walk right by it and kind of not think anything of it, but it's worth exploring. There's a little map that you can grab, and it shows you all these different things around there, and they have a Leonardo da Vinci like treasure hunt kind of thing. Last time I did it, it was only in Japanese, so I don't know if it's in English now. It might be, I don't know, I haven't done it in a while. But you go around to like these different stations inside, try and find them in Fortress Explorations, and you have this map, and you like put it into like this stamp machine and like stamp your paper, and then like things will happen in the room and things like that. So it's actually it's really cool, and it's a good way to get out of the sun on those hot days, or when it's really cold to warm up and stuff. So those are two things I think a lot of people tend to skip, because we all focus on like the big, the e-ticket attractions and Sinbad and things like that.
This was asked, explain your process for getting the ticket for Disney Sea tomorrow. Surely you're going to have details about that on your on the site.
I already have it on our ticket guide already. It was the lottery that I explained earlier. All I did was I entered the lottery. I picked the days I wanted, and then they just told me if I won or not. That's pretty much it. The only weird thing is it's only in Japanese. I don't think they're going to do it in English, just because they're doing it for such a short period of time. I don't think they'll translate into English. But if you right now, if you have an annual pass and you're in Japan, well, you probably should be, able to read at least some Japanese. You're living in this country, kind of put in the effort a little bit. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've done. When I went on the 1st, I did buy a ticket. I bought a day ticket through the official website. That's what I did. That was a very frustrating process.
How much are tickets for Tokyo Disneyland right now?
The prices went up in April, so I think it's 8,300 yen for a 1-day ticket for an adult, which is about $80
Yeah.
for the day.
It's a sticker shock for some of you people over here stateside, in a good way.
Yeah.
Tickets have gone up a lot in the last 5 years. Before, I think when I first got here in 2013, I think a day ticket was about $60.
Wow. Yeah.
So they keep going up, but
when we went a year and a half ago, a 4-day ticket was $200. I think we paid. I know it's more now.
Yeah, it's pretty affordable here. I would love to know the reasoning why they do that. Well, I guess there's only 2 parks, but then you can argue, well, Disneyland California has only 2 parks, so why is it? I got sticker shock when I went to Disneyland. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to take out a loan just to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's gotten the prices have gotten a little crazy here.
Kind of going off a different path with recommended and kind of hidden gems. I saw your blog post here for the all you can eat green alien mochi at Tokyo Disneyland. What are some fun food items that people can experience at Tokyo Disneyland?
Aside from the green alien mochi,
and how is that? Yeah.
Well, for the green alien mochi, I'm probably gonna so let me back up. When I entered the lottery to go this month to Disney, to Tokyo Disney with my annual pass, in their in the details, they said you're only going to be able to go 1 day per month. So then I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to pick Disney Sea because we get 5 chances. So I said, okay, I'll pick 5 days for Disney Sea because they only get 1 day and I haven't been to Disney Sea yet. Yeah. Well, it turns out they changed their mind at some point. So I ended up getting 3 days for Disney Sea over the month. And so I'm like, well, would have been nice to know. I would have tried for Disneyland.
Yeah.
But I might cave and get the 1 day pass if I can get one for Disneyland, so I can go try the dessert buffet, because they've never done a dessert buffet before, especially with green alien mochi and stuff. So I kind of want to go try that.
You had me at dessert buffet.
Yeah. And it's about $26 US dollars.
God.
Do you know how much that would be over here at Disney World?
Probably at least 50, right?
Yeah, you're in the right ballpark.
A little higher.
Yeah.
Probably not anywhere as good of desserts.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only for an hour, so it's not that long. So it's kind of in the same ballpark. It's in the same ballpark for about how buffets are here in Japan. It's a little bit more expensive, but for the most part, it's kind of in line with pricing. But as for other food items, one that people tend to skip because there's only one place to get it at Tokyo Disneyland in Toontown, right outside of Mickey's meet and greet, his house, is the pizza spring roll, which I've talked about many times. The pizza spring roll is delicious.
Yeah, I've seen you post about that before.
That's just so good.
We got a pizza spring roll here at Magic Kingdom over by the Jungle Cruise. I wonder if that was the same one.
No.
Was it different? Yeah.
It wasn't.
I would imagine
it's
different. Yeah.
Very
very
different.
good.
And then
we don't get the good stuff over here.
Oh my goodness, there's just so much food here. I don't like the churros here. People know that. If they follow me, they know I don't like the churros here. I think
the popcorn's another thing. I know Barry, when he came back from Tokyo, he posted a few videos and talked about the popcorn. What are some of the fun popcorn flavors at Tokyo?
My 2 favorite go-tos is the honey popcorn, which is delicious, and it's right outside Pooh's Honey Hunt, which is very fitting, and black pepper is my other favorite one.
Didn't try that one.
Those are ones that have been around for years because they do change the popcorn flavors up quite frequently. And in the past, they've had ones like cappuccino, which is really good. They had jalapeno cheese. They've had coconut. They did this Chinese spice popcorn. They had a garlic butter shrimp popcorn. they're just constantly changing it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, we to this day can't understand why they don't do that more over here. I mean, you could, the honey popcorn, if they put a cart across from the Winnie the Pooh ride here, there would be a insane line all the time. Because, I mean, that's one of the coolest things about when you go to Pooh's Honey Hunt is there's just the smell of honey in the air from the popcorn. And it just, I to this day don't understand why they don't do more flavored popcorn over here, because they could sell a ton of it, even more so than probably the regular popcorn they have.
Yeah. I think, well, with this is stuff I've never really written about this. I don't know how to go about it. Is like Japan, like obviously, well, for those that don't know, Tokyo Disney Resort is not actually owned by Disney. It's owned by Oriental Land Company, so they have a lot of control over how the parks operate, and they make decisions based on basically the locals, right? So they know their market very well, and I think they have that advantage of I don't know the exact figures, but like 98% of the people that visit the parks here are local Japanese people. So it's very easy to cater to them because they're just, there's just that many people. So I think that's the advantage, and they know their audience very well. Whereas I think with Disney World, it's the most visited place in the world. But also I think they have that the disadvantage of there's just too many different groups of people. So trying to figure out a way to like cater to all these different groups is like very challenging, I'd imagine. I have no idea. I'm just like talking out of my head.
Oh no, I mean to me it's one of the most amazing things about Tokyo Disney is the food, and the diversity of food, and I've told people the best like Disney theme park pizza I ever had was at Tokyo Disney Sea. So it's like
was it at the Sandvini Brothers? Or was
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But
on the other hand, we at Disneyland we tried the seafood pizza. I never would have probably tried anything like that, but we were like, what the hell? Let's try this seafood pizza with the octopus
what was on
on
the
it.
Seafood pizza?
Octopus.
There's next time you go at this is a place a lot of people skip too, is Restaurant di Cantaletto at Disney Sea, which overlooks like the canals where the gondolas go. They have a 4-cheese pizza that is delicious. It's kind of a hefty size, and there's like blue cheese and some other cheeses on there. Then they have like a piece of cheese that is in the shape of Mickey, and then they give you a thing of honey to drizzle on it, and it is delicious. It is so good. It's probably the best pizza I've had in the theme park. So that's
awesome. Yeah. So what is your what's your favorite time of year at Tokyo Disney? Or I should say favorite celebration.
Depends on how I'm feeling. If I want something that's like very fun, high energy, the summer events are bar none, honestly. I'm sad that they're not happening this year. I've never had so much fun during shows at Tokyo Disney or like at any Disney park. Last year at Disneyland, they brought back a nighttime castle show for the summer, which they haven't done in years. And so that was a really big thing last year, and it was part of Donald's Hot Jungle Summer. I think that's what it was called. It was like Donald's Summer Bonsai or something like that. And all the characters were like in front of the castle, dancing and everything. And then there's water cannons shooting into the air. There's fire. And it's just like you get completely drenched, and the music is high energy. And that's usually how their summer shows go. The last few years at Disney Sea, they've been doing the Pirate Summer, which I think Futago in the chat here was asking about. They've been doing that for the last 3 years. Very fun. All the barges are pirate ships and everything. Captain Jack Sparrow, Davy Jones and all that. They come out, and then the pirates are all along the bay, and they're just throwing water left and right. Like you get completely drenched. It's ridiculous. And they're pretending to get drunk and drink and stuff, which I don't think you'd see in any other Disney park.
Yeah.
That's a little questionable, but whatever, they're pirates. But my favorite at Disney Sea, which they don't, it's ended now, was Minnie's Tropical Splash. And it was all the barges come out and they're all different fruits. So Minnie Mouse is on this like big float that was like in the shape of, I don't even remember now, strawberries or something. And like Clarice is on another one, Daisy's on another one. It's like, it's all like the female power characters come out and they're all like in these really beautiful outfits and stuff. And then at one point, I think the last year they did the show, the three Calaveros came out and they were riding a banana. They were just riding a banana. It's just
That's awesome.
They do crazy things like that. So yeah, if I want something like really fun, high energy, summer. If I want something like really like gorgeous, I go in for Christmas. I think Tokyo Disney does Christmas very well for a country that does not celebrate Christmas. It's not a thing here at all in terms of like religion and a holiday. It's just it's just a thing they kind of took on and they just decorate.
The only thing one of the things I got is everyone has fried chicken for Christmas.
Yes, you have KFC for Christmas.
KFC for Christmas.
What is this?
So
I've explained it before, but go ahead, Chris.
So like back in the someone can fact check me, but it was like years ago, like 40 years ago. So like that would have been what, the 70s?
I think it was the 70s.
Something like that. Yeah. KFC wanted to do something in Japan, and someone came up with the idea of, well, why don't we market KFC as the thing to do on Christmas Day?
Interesting.
As you do, and they took off, and people have been doing it here in Japan ever since. Like that's like if I'm not home for Christmas, that's what I do. I go and have KFC because that's the thing you do. They start taking reservations for like certain, like they offer like certain packages, like meals. And you reserve it like 2 months ahead of time. Then Christmas Day, you go pick it up, and it's all in this beautiful packaging, and like that's your Christmas dinner.
That's amazing.
It's crazy, and I love it.
and it's to the point I noticed when I was there. There's even like grocery store chains like offering like a fried chicken Christmas dinner,
trying to get some of that business.
Trying to get some of that business, which explain to people. Presentation and packaging seems to be a big deal over there when it comes to merchandise or even like, giving you like, I mean, I know things are supposedly changing a little bit with that, but like, giving you a bag for everything and what does that come from and why is that a thing there?
It kind of comes, I guess it's kind of a complicated question. There's this thing called omotenashi, which kind of means like customer service, like just like that really high level of customer service is like the very simplified way of explaining it. And part of that comes with like the packaging and the presentation. You make things look presented very beautiful and pretty. And unfortunately, that comes with a lot of packaging. That's like you said, that's starting to change now because I think Japan is something like one of the top countries in the world that uses plastic. For such a small country, in relative to other countries, that's not the greatest thing. But everything's wrapped in plastic. Like I went and bought an apple yesterday. It was wrapped in plastic. Like, I don't need this apple wrapped in plastic. I just want to grab it, pay for it, and leave. Like it doesn't need to be pretty. I just need the apple. I'm going to eat it. So, but yeah, presentation's a really big thing here. So, going back to why you get so many plastic bags, there's also this thing called omiyage culture. And omiyage literally translates into souvenir. But usually that kind of means it's a souvenir, but it's usually in the form of a food item from the region that you're visiting. So that's kind of what that really means. So like if I was to like take time off of work and I went on a vacation somewhere here, like going to Tokyo Disney, you would buy omiyage, and it would be like little things of food. There's like cookies and rice cakes and little cupcakes and like things like that, and they all come really nicely packaged and everything. And you'll be given extra plastic bags so everyone can get their own stuff individually, and you present it to them. So that's kind of where that comes from. And of course, like I said, the whole plastic thing now, that's slowly starting to change, because Japan last month just started having it mandatory to charge for plastic bags. That's been a thing for years in other countries.
Yeah.
The best way, like if you talk to anyone that lives in Japan, that has lived in Japan for a while, the best way to describe Japan is they're usually 10 years behind everyone else. In terms of like these, important things, they're usually 10 years behind. So plastic bags is a really good example of that.
Which I think, we can sort of go Tokyo Disney, and you can talk about this more. There's probably not another Disney resort in the world that changes over merchandise as much as this resort does. And I know, some people come, when we went, we were prepared to know, we looked at, all the stuff you posted about the merchandise. We also understood that a lot of stuff we may have seen, posted wasn't going to be there. Even though I was sort of surprised that even when we went during, mid-December, they had none of the generic Tokyo Disney Sea or Tokyo Disneyland shirts or anything like that. But explain the merchandise there, because, a lot of it, like you just talked about with the whole gifting thing, that's a lot of what the merchandise is geared for. But has it changed over the time that you've been there? Because I've noticed some changes in the merchandise, and maybe they're carrying a little bit, some more stuff that they didn't used to carry before, especially with clothing and things like that.
Yeah, the last few years, I think. Well, they were definitely getting ready for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And of course, the increase in tourism as well, that has been happening. Whenever that goes back to normal, we don't know. But I noticed they were trying to cater more towards the tourists. More stuff that would say like Tokyo Disney Resort on it, Tokyo Disneyland, Disney Sea. A lot more merchandise like that was popping up. 5 years ago, that really wasn't a thing, because I've asked my Japanese friends, I asked them, like, do you not want stuff that say Tokyo Disneyland, Disney Sea on it? And they say, no, we don't. Like, we want something with the characters on it. So it's a very cultural thing. Again, OLC knows their audience, so they're really catering to that a lot. And another thing some other Japanese friends have said too, like, they don't need it to say that on there because everyone knows where it's from.
Yeah.
I guess in Western culture, we kind of pride ourselves on, sure, Tokyo Disney Sea is like, look where I've been. I've been to Disney Sea. Thing. But with Japanese, yes, that does happen when traveling abroad and stuff. But like, traveling domestically, not that big of a thing, because most people know where it comes from anyway. So they don't need it, blasted across it saying where it came from. People just know. So it's kind of another cultural difference in terms of their merchandise. And of course, we all know merchandise makes money. So yeah, they're going to churn that stuff as fast as they can to get people to spend money, because people do spend money. Even I spend money, probably more than I should.
Don't we all?
Yeah, because the interesting thing to me, I found, compared to the resorts here, obviously, is that if the stuff's not selling, they mark it down. Because, like we were there for Christmas time, and some of the Christmas stuff was already marked down, even with a few weeks left, which was like a shock to us, and that's probably why we ended up walking away with some things that we probably originally weren't going to buy. I think the other thing, maybe you can explain this, is even though it sort of used to be this way here, and it seems to be a lot of things with Tokyo Disney. It's like you talk about, oh, well, Disney World used to do this, but Tokyo Disney still does it. Here, one of the complaints we have, especially with merchandise, is how generic it's become, and a lot of the shops have the same things. I noticed over there, it's like you really have to go into every shop because there's some shops where, I guess sort of explain to people, it's like there's still a uniqueness there that's not at a lot of the other Disney resorts anymore.
Yeah, Tokyo Disney's slowly making things generic, which is kind of sad. But for the most part, there's still like unique stuff at different shops, whatnot. Years ago, even like 5 years ago, certain shops would only carry certain things. Like they would sell, I think, Nautilus themed stuff at the little gift shop in Mysterious Island. That's not a thing anymore. McDuck's is now pretty much just home to Duffy. But before, it was all like Scrooge McDuck kind of themed merchandise and things like that. So they're slowly getting away from that, but there's still some sort of uniqueness to a lot of things. Thankfully, we still have a lot of like very park specific merch. So there's stuff that's only Disney Sea, there's stuff that's only at Disneyland. And then on top of that, there's only stuff that's at the Disney store throughout Japan. The Disney stores in Japan are actually, to my knowledge, are owned by the Disney company, not by OLC.
Yeah.
So you see the merchandise is very different.
Yeah.
But still unique to Japan.
Really quick, Chris, before we wrap things up here, I know you mentioned, the lots of expansion and construction going on at Tokyo Disneyland. Is there anything, kind of tell people what's going on at Tokyo Disneyland as far as expansions and new attractions? And I'm very curious about that, the vending machine. So for my personal satisfaction, that the vending machine with the near the Mochi Cat, which I am in love with, by the way. That's one of my Big Hero 6 is one of my favorite kind of. I call Big Hero 6 an underdog movie. I don't think it gets the recognition it deserves. I love that movie. But no, kind of tell people what's going on at Tokyo Disneyland as far as, the new expansions and everything.
So Tokyo Disneyland, there's everyone just calls it the Fantasyland expansion, but it kind of spans over 3 different lands in Disneyland. It's supposed to open April 15th. Unfortunately, we don't know when it's going to open now because of what's happened but the big thing is the Beauty and the Beast area, where we're getting our own Beauty and the Beast dark ride or trackless dark ride attraction. If you go online, like there's pictures of the cat, like Beauty's Beast Castle. It puts the one at the Magic Kingdom to shame, like completely.
It doesn't even, putting it to shame is an understatement.
It
doesn't even compare. It doesn't even compare. It's an actual castle, not just something off in the distance. And there's a brand new show that's supposed to open with that as well. And then over at Toontown, Minnie Mouse is getting her own dedicated meet and greet facility. So it's going to be the same as Mickey's house, where you meet Mickey in four different costumes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The same
Minnie's
thing's happening. Style Studio.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So same idea. Minnie's it's her own style studio, like a runway kind of thing, and you meet her in 4 different costumes. So same idea as Mickey's house. And then Tomorrowland, there's a Baymax attraction, which is just a carbon copy of the Alien Swirling Saucers.
Alien.
Yeah, and Mater's, whatever it's called. And then the Woody's Roundup in Shanghai Disneyland. So same attraction, you just whip around, but it's all Baymax themed. And then, but attached to that is a popcorn place, a popcorn shop, I should say. And they're going to have multiple flavors of popcorn in different popcorn buckets. The one popcorn bucket we do know that's coming is the ride vehicle for the Baymax attraction,
which is adorable.
Bucket.
Yeah.
And then, like you mentioned, there's 2 brand new cat vending machines, which they've opened now because I guess they're just vending machines, but they're in the shape of cats. But they have the armor, like the Baymax Big Hero 6 armor, and then there's a little. Then Mochi, the cat, is on top of the vending machines sleeping, and you hear him purring, which I think is genius.
Yeah, it's the little things like that.
It's genius. So that's Tokyo Disneyland. Disney Sea is under huge construction right now, where there's an expansion coming in fiscal 2023. So it's still quite a ways off, but there's going to be a brand new hotel which is supposed to be the most luxurious hotel at Tokyo Disney Resort, which I don't know how they're going to pull that off, because the Hotel Miracosta is the most luxurious Disney hotel I've ever stayed in my life.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to top that. And then also across the way, there's a Toy Story hotel, which is supposed to be another value hotel, which Tokyo Disney Resort desperately needs.
Yeah.
Right now, all the hotels there's either the deluxe hotels, which are 3 of them, and then there is one value hotel, but it's really not that great. It's just they just threw a skin on top of a Japanese business hotel. Yeah, that doesn't sound very appealing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're building a Toy Story hotel, so we'll see how it's going right beside the Hilton Tokyo Bay. And then as for the attractions there's going to be a Peter Pan attraction, a Tangled attraction, two Tangled? No, two
Frozen.
Peter Pan attractions.
Two
Peter Pan attractions, one Frozen, one Tangled attraction. So it'll be 4 more attractions adding on to Disney Sea, because it's going to be a brand new port, Fantasy Springs. So there's a lot coming here.
And the Frozen one's supposed to be like a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train type coaster, right? From what I think,
I'm not sure. I know the one in Hong Kong Disneyland is.
Maybe that's maybe that's the one I'm thinking.
No,
of,
they're getting. If I remember correctly, they're getting their own unique dark ride,
which isn't surprising.
Yeah, no, it's not surprising. I guess we've talked a lot about Tokyo Disney. Obviously, Super Nintendo World is a pretty huge expansion coming to Universal Studios Japan. How has the hype and the excitement been for that? Because obviously Nintendo, you sort of, Japan and Nintendo are one and the same in many. It is one of the biggest game companies to come out of Japan. How has the hype and the excitement been for that?
I think I see more of it coming from people outside of Japan.
Because we're jealous.
Like, people in Japan are very modest, so I think people are excited, but we just don't really see that a lot. I'm going to be honest, I'm more excited for that than I am for the Disney Sea expansion. Like, let's be honest. Like, 5-year-old me is like screaming right now. I'm like, I want to just go there. Like, it just looks so amazing. I'm sure you guys saw the leaked stuff that happened on Twitter overnight for you guys.
Yeah, I briefly saw that. Yeah.
I cannot wait for that. It's gonna be phenomenal. Like, you can already tell. Like, it's just gonna be so good. I hope it lives up to expectations. I'm trying to taper my expectations because I don't want to be disappointed.
It's hard to.
Yeah. Well, like, Nintendo's so, like, they care about their quality. Like, they're very
sure.
Like, I'd say they're more strict in terms of their branding than Disney is.
Yeah.
Like, they're very protective.
They're very protective, yeah.
So I can see there's going to be a very high standard. So
meanwhile, over here with Epic Universe.
That's been paused indefinitely, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Universal, basically.
Well,
it gets hard because it's like, the last few years when we've had Halloween Horror Nights, you could actually see where they had started, like, construction behind the scenes of Kid Zone at Universal, and it's like, we could have had it by now. It's like,
why?
Yeah, it's interesting because I one of the things that people, you do go to the park spot, but I do like when you go to a lot of the unique retail that Japan has. Because they have these pop-up like there was a Harry Potter pop-up cafe.
Oh, that was fun.
And there's Pokemon cafes, and you recently go to one of the Nintendo stores, because that looks like a unique experience.
Yes, I'm actually going to be doing a video on that very soon. I bought way too much stuff. So I thought I might as well show everyone, because people have been very curious about the merchandise they have there. But yeah, it's the first official Nintendo store in Japan, because up until then, there was no official store. I know there's an official store in New York, and it's been there for years.
Really?
Yeah.
I I went there in 2011 to New York, and I went to that store, so I remember that.
I surely would have thought there was a Nintendo store in Tokyo. That's interesting.
Yeah, it just opened in November of last year. Like,
wow.
you could buy like official Nintendo merchandise in just different stores.
Sure.
But there was no like one official place to do it.
Yeah.
Like when the new Paper Mario came out, I went to the Nintendo store in Shibuya because they're the only place in Japan that I knew of where you could buy the game plus this special box of origami that are of the characters from the game that it was only available there. So I thought, well, why not? Might as well get something I can't get anywhere else. But yeah, they take their merchandise very seriously, like not just Disney, but everywhere. It's very hard to not spend money. Like, let's be honest, it's really hard.
All right, I think we can wrap things up here. Barry, was there anything else you wanted to ask Chris before we wrap it up here?
No, I think we're good. We definitely would like to have you back in the future. Hopefully after the Tokyo Disneyland expansion opens, and of course Super Nintendo World opens. Hopefully sometime at some point. No, it's always a blast, and Clint knows I'll talk Japan all day long.
You will. I give you a hard time about it. I shouldn't, because I love Japanese culture. I love everything about it, and I'm always eager to learn more. So I would love to have you on again just to talk just Tokyo in general, like stuff you can do there.
Anytime.
There's so much fun stuff and cool stuff there. So I would be happy to have you on again just to chat, just general Tokyo stuff, because there's so much cool stuff over there. So, Chris, where can everybody find you online?
Yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere under TDR Explorer. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. I'm trying to do more videos over there. Our website, tdrexplorer.com, where all like our travel advice stuff is. And Instagram, we're on there too, TDR Explorer. And we also do have a podcast. It's on our website. Where we actually just recorded our 200th episode.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
Yeah, so thank you, and congratulations on your 150th.
I know we've made it this far.
I know,
it's crazy, isn't it?
And definitely, if you are going when travel resumes, you do still have your ebook, right?
Yep, I have two.
Yeah, I do.
Sorry, I have it on Tokyo Disney Resort and Universal Studios Japan.
I got the Tokyo Disney Resort one. I recommend it to everyone I know in the last year and a half who's going to Japan. I recommended it to them. It's a nice resource to have, especially you put it on your phone, and it's like, you don't need to have internet access, and you can look stuff up, and it was very helped me very much with planning the trip to Tokyo Disney. So
thank you.
I recommend it, and it's well worth the money.
Speaking of which, how hard has it been, with everything going on in the world, how hard has it been, really quick? Obviously, if you run a theme park website, it's a lot to keep the guides and everything up to date. And how has it been with this coronavirus and all the new stuff happening? Has it been a fairly exhausting process, changing stuff and guides and all that stuff for you, or has it been a fairly easy process?
I've been kind of holding off changing things too much because
it's only temporary.
It's temporary, and there's not a lot of us in terms of foreigners who actually live in Japan.
Yeah.
Versus people that are visiting, and no one's visiting right now. So I'm very strategic on what I update, like what I think people will find interesting and things that should be updated, like buying tickets.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and analyze, wait times because it's such a small blip right now. I don't think it's going to be relevant in 6 months.
Exactly.
So I'm very selective of what I update and things like that. So, and I try not to give people too much FOMO. I try to be nice as much as I can. That's my Canadian side coming out.
Yeah. That's kind of, Barry and I too, is, we have people, we're not a vacation planning website. We just, talk about the news and stuff. And you try to be sound and give advice to people in a nice manner, and it shows. And obviously you've done a fantastic job. So like Barry said, when things resume, and you guys are planning on making a trip out to Tokyo Disney, be sure to visit Chris's website, his guides, his podcasts, all that good stuff. It's fantastic stuff. So
yeah, everything Tokyo Disney, Universal Studios Japan, and you even have stuff for the other Asia parks too. So
cool.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you for
Chris.
having me.
Appreciate it.
All right, we are at ThrillGeek on Twitter and Instagram, facebook.com/ThrillGeek. Please like and follow our Facebook page, youtube.com/ThrillGeek. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a couple of ThrillGeek live park walkthroughs that are up there. And of course, you can always check out our Tokyo Disney playlist for all the videos from our Tokyo Disney trip. And of course, ThrillGeek.com for the latest in theme park and pop culture news. And of course, you're listening to the ThrillGeek Podcast. Wherever you can get a podcast, you can get the ThrillGeek Podcast.
Yes, you can. All right, Chris, thank you again. We appreciate your time hanging out with us. Enjoy your day.
Enjoy your night. Thank you.
Thanks, guys, everyone in chatting with us. We had it. I don't know why, but for some reason it went to Twitter, Periscope instead of Twitch.
Oops.
Yeah. So, anyways, thanks for chatting with us on YouTube. You had some pretty cool people on here. You brought in some pretty cool people chatting with us. So
my fellow explorers.
Yeah, they were talking up a storm. So apologies if I didn't get to everybody's comments. So yeah, thanks again, guys, for watching the live stream, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you in the parks.